Emeritus of Princeton, author and Bernie Sanders supporter, Professor Cornel West. Professor, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
When Bernie Sanders was one of the two white public officials who supported Jesse Jackson in the 80s, it took tremendous courage. Why did Brother Jesse win the primary in Vermont? Bernie Sanders. My dear brother Chris, Sister Hillary Clinton is the Milli Vanilli of American politics. She lip sings, she gives lip service, but when it comes to policy, who supported crime bill?
Almost 25% of the world's total prison population. The numbers today are much higher than they were 30, 40 years ago.
This bill would have put more police on the street, would have locked up violent offenders so they never could get out again, would have given more prison construction money.
And soon, Democrats began competing with Republicans to prove they could be even tougher on them. And so it was President Bill Clinton who escalated the drug war far beyond what his Republican predecessors even dreamed possible. And it was President Clinton that championed laws denying federal financial aid to drug offenders for college. It was President Clinton who championed laws banning people with criminal convictions from access to public housing so that people wouldn't have housing upon release from prison. It was the Clinton administration that championed laws denying even food stamps under federal law to people who were once caught with drugs. To a large extent, the basic architecture of this new caste system was championed by a Democratic administration desperate to win back the so-called white swing voters, the folks who had defected from the Democratic Party in the wake of the civil rights movement.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. 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 Bring them to heel.
Who supported not just deregulating of market of banks, but also pulled the rug from under welfare? She talks about her work with the Children's Defense Fund way back in the 70s. Doesn't say a word about being a Goldwater girl.
You voted against the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Would you do so today?
I would have to vote against it.
In 1964, during the presidential election of that year, I was a Goldwater girl. I mean, really, we used to wear, you know, little banners which said Goldwater girl.
Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Doesn't say a word about supporting a candidate who Martin Luther King called there's no moral case for Goldwater. He's the most dangerous politician. She's vigorously campaigning. She shows up and gives these wonderful speeches sounding like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders on the ground getting arrested, marching with Martin. The problem is black voters don't know his history in the way in which they know the symbolic language of Hillary Clinton. But on the ground, she's calling black youth super predators in the 1990s. That is the most demeaning, degrading.
My first job was with the Children's Defense Fund.
Well, you know, Hillary Clinton's an old friend, but they're not friends in politics. We profoundly disagreed with the forms of the welfare reform bill.
By the time Bill and I left the White House, welfare rolls had dropped 60%.
You know, many years after that, when many people are pronouncing welfare reform a great success, you know, we've got growing child poverty. The poor are suffering.
My first job was with the Children's Defense Fund.
Language to our precious young folk. Sometimes do the wrong thing, yes. Acting gangsters, yes. We know they got gangsters on Wall Street. How many Wall Street executives go to jail? Zero. She's too tied to Wall Street with all that big Wall Street money flowing her way, my brother.
See their jobs shipped overseas. You were a corporate lawyer sitting on the board of Walmart.
The persistent scourge of child labor.
I'm always proud of Walmart and what we do.
Walmart continued to get most of its products from overseas during its Buy America program, including from this factory in Bangladesh that used 11 and 12-year-old girls.
The persistent scourge of child labor.
By the time Bill and I left the White House, Welfare rolls had dropped 60%.
I'm sorry to say, what I thought would happen has happened. This was a blunderbuss. This was just an axe, a hatchet. 6 million, 2% of our population have no income except those food stamps. The food stamps is the sole thing that stands between them and being totally without any income.
When Bernie Sanders a D- when it comes to the NRA, she uses that one little element to take the subject matter somewhere else. One element in terms of jobs with a living wage, when it comes to education, when it comes to decent housing, and when it comes to Wall Street. You know, and I know she and Bill received $151 million.
She was very close to Robert Rubin, to Lawrence Summers, to the people in the Clinton administration who gave us the radical deregulation of Wall Street. So they're the ones that opened the door to the Wall Street thieves that brought on the Great Recession.
Unless she thinks we were born at night but not last night. Good God Almighty. We know the Wall Street influence on her has been intense. That's precisely why she and Bill repealed Glass-Steagall. These has direct connection with black folk. We got a neoliberal black political class who's on the Clinton bandwagon and the gravy train. And they are trying to convince large numbers of black folk we won't do it.
Hillary Clinton has not been a friend to black people. We're not just talking about mass incarceration. This duo has gutted and devastated the black community. You can draw a line from the evaporation of black wealth in the black community back to the deregulation of the Clinton years. I would be hard pressed to find in recent memory another president who's been quite as damaging.
Now, part of the problem is, my brother, corporate media hasn't been as fair to Bernie as he should. This particular program has been, I'm talking about corporate media as a whole, because, I mean, we know Donald Trump himself was the Frankenstein of corporate media. They cover every Twitter, they cover every speech, every word. If Bernie had that kind of coverage, people wouldn't know who he is. He hasn't got the exposure to see one fundamental thing: profound integrity, genuine conviction, and on the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. What other higher standard do we have in American politics? How many politicians do we know have genuine integrity? You can count them on your hand. And Hillary Clinton's not one of them. She's not one of them, brother.
As Pop used to say, you count them on one hand if you've been playing with fireworks.
And I tell you one thing, your beloved father's one of them that we can count on one hand, but that's rare, that's rare, that's rare, my brother.
Perhaps the most important wreckage to take a look at is really the wreckage of the Democratic Party.
In this campaign, the nation has had to forgive you early and often. We have forgiven you your misspeaking about Martin Luther King's relative importance to the civil rights movement.
New York City, Hillary State, the best nominee that's possible, and the Democrats are throwing the election away. For what? An inadequate black male who would not have been running had it not been a white woman that was running for president.
Today is the 12th of January 2016, 6 years after the earthquake, and for us it was important to be in front of the Clinton Foundation because Bill Clinton, as head of the interim Haiti Recovery Commission, was responsible for the $6 billion. He had unlimited control of this money. 6 years after the earthquake, Haiti is in worse condition than it was in 2010. Only Bill Clinton can tell the world what happened with this money.
Higher education shouldn't be a privilege for those able to afford it. It should be an opportunity widely available for anyone with the talent, determination, and ambition to learn.
I think you should be getting paid that much, honestly. You're already a wealthy person. Why do you need more?